Hello geometry students, today's learning target is to justify if triangles are congruent. Again, the 5 ways that we've talked about are side, 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 angle, side, angle, side, angle, 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 side, and hypotenuse, leg. What's different about this worksheet compared to the first worksheet is the triangles are overlapping or touching. So I'm going to start on number 1. We talked about in class that when you have a common side that I'm highlighting in yellow, you always can mark it congruent, and that was called the reflexive property. So you always mark the reflexive property. Then if you look at the triangle that I'm going to highlight in blue here, we have a side, an angle, and a side. And in the pink triangle, we have a side, an angle, and that same side we marked. So these are congruent by side, angle, side. In problem number 2, you'll notice that we have vertical angles, and we learned vertical angles are always congruent. So always mark vertical angles congruent. After you mark those vertical angles congruent, we have an angle, a side, and an angle in the top triangle. Likewise, in the bottom triangle, we have the same angle, the side, and the angle. So these are congruent by angle, side, angle. So the point of problem number 1 and number 2 is always mark the reflexive property, that side they have in common, and always mark vertical angles congruent. So if we look at problem number 3, we're going to mark the reflexive property that I just did in blue. Now we have one angle and one side. Well, that's not enough to say they are congruent, so for problem number 3, they are not congruent. In contrast, if you look at problem number 4, we're going to mark the reflexive property. And then on the triangle that I'm highlighting in yellow, we also could mark the 90-degree angle, and then across from the 90 we have the hypotenuse. In the blue triangle here, across from the 90 we have the hypotenuse, and in the middle there we have the leg. So this is the method HL, so these are congruent by HL. Taking a look at problem number 5, we're going to mark the vertical angles. So in the triangle on the left, we have a side, the vertical angle, and the side. And then in the other triangle, we have the side with 1 tick mark, the angle, and the side with 2 tick marks. So these are congruent by side, angle, side. In problem number 6, we're going to mark the reflexive property down the middle. In the triangle at the top, we have an angle, another angle, and a side. In the triangle at the bottom, we have an angle, and a side. So for problem 6, they are congruent by angle, side. Continuing, in problem number 7, we're going to mark the vertical angles. Then in the triangle at the top, we have side, angle, side. For the triangle at the bottom, we have angle, side, side. Notice they are different. The yellow triangle is different than the green triangle, so these are not congruent. just for clarity, the yellow triangle, we have side, angle, side. But for the green triangle, we have side, side, angle. Because in the green triangle, the angle is not between the two sides. In problem number 8, we're going to mark the reflexive, so I'll put 3 tick marks. Then hopefully you see you have side, side, side at the top triangle, side, side, side on the bottom triangle. So these are congruent by side, side, side. Let's take a look at the last 4 examples. So for problem number 9, we're going to mark the vertical angles. I'll put 1 tick mark since there's 2. Now we have in the triangle on the left, we have angle, angle, angle. Well, that doesn't work, so these triangles are not congruent. In problem number 10, we're going to mark the reflexive property. Then on the triangle towards the top, we have angle, side, angle. And in the other triangle, we have angle, side, angle. So these are congruent by angle, side, angle. For problem number 11, we're going to mark the reflexive property. Then in the yellow triangle here, we can see we have a right angle. In the green triangle, we can see we have a right angle. Remember, across from the right angle is the hypotenuse. So in both triangles, we have the hypotenuse. The other side is called the leg. So these are congruent by hypotenuse, leg. And then in problem number 12, we're going to mark the reflexive. For the triangle that I'm highlighting in yellow, we have side, angle, side. For the triangle I am highlighting in green, we have angle, side, side. So the green triangle is side, side, angle. The blue triangle, or excuse me, the yellow triangle, side, angle, side. Those are different. So these are not congruent.